The trouble began at our neighborhood's annual Spring Spruce-Up barbecue, a sun-drenched affair hosted by the Meadowview Homeowners Association, HOA. The cul-de-sac buzzed with forced smiles, identical potato salads, and a hand-painted sign proclaiming, "A tidy community is a happy community." I wasn't keen on attending, but my wife, Laura, insisted we show our faces. After all, we'd recently turned our garage into a home gym, a decision that would soon ignite a firestorm. I'm Tom Reynolds, a 52-year-old certified fitness trainer who works with local law enforcement, including SWAT teams. My garage gym isn't a commercial operation. It's a space where I train friends and a few officers, keeping things quiet and respectful. That Saturday, as I sipped flat lemonade and nodded through a discussion about lawnmower regulations, Patricia Hensley, the HOA vice president, swept in like she owned the subdivision. Her platinum hair gleamed, her designer dog sported a tiny bow tie, and she clutched a wine glass like a scepter. Spotting me, she didn't bother with pleasantries. "So, you're the one running a fitness facility," she said, her voice sharp enough to slice through the small talk. "You mean my garage?" I replied, trying to keep it light. She scoffed. "It was a garage before you turned it into a training camp." The way she said it, you'd think I was stockpiling explosives. I explained that I train SWAT officers, keep noise low, and don't charge anyone. Her eyes narrowed, as if I'd admitted to treason. "I'll be keeping an eye on you," she said, gliding off like a villain in a bad movie. I thought that was the end of it. 2 days later, I woke to find my trash can tipped over, protein powder strewn across my driveway like a crime scene, and a pink HOA violation flag stabbed into my lawn. The citation read, "Unauthorized commercial activity." I laugh at it wasn't a business. It was just a few guys lifting weights and practicing drills. That afternoon, I knocked on Patricia's door to clear things up. She answered in yoga pants and a silk robe that screamed midlife crisis. "We don't allow businesses in residential zones," she sniffed. "It's not a business," I said. "And last I checked, your son's selling crypto art from your dining room." She blinked, caught off guard, but recovered fast. "That's digital commerce. Entirely different." I pointed out that her dog had been spotted peeing on our new landscaping. She slammed the door in my face. That night, Laura caught Patricia letting her dog wander onto our yard again. I installed security cameras the next morning, more curious than angry. What was she planning next? 2 days later, during a Tuesday session with 3 SWAT officers, a hulking guy in a skull-themed t-shirt, me cameras caught Patricia across the street, binoculars in hand, filming us. I waved. She ducked behind a shrub. We laughed, but that was a mistake. The next morning, Patricia called 911, claiming armed men were entering a residential home. 2 cruisers rolled up, officers' hands on their holsters. I strolled out, still in gym gloves, and greeted them by name. "Morning, guys." "Protein shake?" Patricia watched from her porch, draped in a leopard print robe, expecting a takedown. Instead, the officers chuckled. They trained with me. One shouted, "Hey, Patricia, join the workout next time you're already watching." Her face turned crimson, a mix of fury and humiliation. You'd think she'd back off. Instead, she doubled down. A week later, a nervous HOA junior rep delivered an invitation to an emergency zoning review at the community center. I walked into a room straight out of a low-budget courtroom drama. Patricia sat at a folding table, flanked by Harold, who once tried to ban basketball hoops, and Marjorie, infamous for finding a neighbor over an unapproved flower bed. They clutched clipboards like weapons. "We're here to determine if your garage is an illegal multi-purpose structure," Patricia intoned, as if reading me my rights. "You mean it's still a garage?" I asked. Harold tapped a ruler. "Let the record show the accused is uncooperative." They presented evidence, blurry photos of me and my trainees lifting weights, a decibel chart labeled excessive grunting, and complaints about tactical language like breach and clear. Marjorie claimed residents feared a paramilitary invasion. Patricia leaned forward. "Is your gym weaponized?" I bit back a laugh. "Patricia, do you know what a dumbbell is?" She didn't flinch. "We believe it's a coded term." The room, filled with curious neighbors munching free cookies, buzzed. Patricia cited a Code 17F violation with a potential $12,000 fine. It wasn't about noisy, it was about control. She wanted me to bend to her vision of order. Just as she prepared to deliver her verdict, Laura stood up, holding a thick envelope. "I filed zoning permits for multi-purpose garage use 2 months ago, approved by the county. Want a copy?" Patricia froze. Harold muttered about a recess. Marjorie grabbed a cookie and slipped out. Laura held up another paper, a petition signed by 12 households, one even requesting classes. Patricia's chair toppled as she stood. "This isn't over," she hissed, storming out, leaving a trail of perfume and rage. The room erupted in laughter. A new neighbor whispered, "Can I sign up for a class?" I grinned. "Sure, but bring your dumbbell. Patricia thinks it's a secret weapon." But I knew Patricia wasn't done. She'd gone from sabotage to legal ambushes. Next, she'd try something darker. Patricia's defeat at the zoning meeting didn't humble her, it sharpened her claws. The Meadowview cul-de-sac, once a place of friendly waves and shared zucchini bread, turned cold. Patricia shifted from direct attacks to a subtler, more insidious strategy, psychological warfare. She didn't come to my garage gym with citations or binoculars anymore. Instead, she weaponized the neighborhood's social fabric, turning neighbors against us with whispers and fear. It started with a book club invitation, slipped under our door in an envelope sealed with a smiley face sticker. Neighborhood Unity Circle, it read in curly font, addressed to Laura. My wife rolled her eyes and tossed it into the junk drawer. But within days, her phone buzzed with texts from moms she barely knew. "You coming to Patricia's wine tasting?" one asked. "Heard there's a posture coach." Then came the jab. "Is Tom training cops in your garage?" My kids heard shouting. That one came from Ellen, who once let her toddler doodle chalk murals on our driveway for hours. The shift was palpable. I'd wave at old Mr. Thompson while walking our dog, Max. No wave back. The Wilsons, who'd brought us homemade jam every summer, stopped making eye contact. Even our mail carrier, usually chatty, now dropped letters with a thud and moved on. One afternoon, I stepped outside to find a cluster of neighbors across the street, sipping seltzers and lawn chairs. The moment I appeared, they fell silent, their stares heavy with suspicion. It felt like I'd been cast as the villain in a suburban thriller. Laura came home from yoga one evening, fuming. "Guess what Patricia's spreading now?" she snapped. "She told everyone you're a tactical extremist running combat simulations in our garage." I raised an eyebrow. "With kettlebells?" Phrases like breach and clear meant we were prepping for civil unrest. Then came the final blow. A flyer slid under every door in Meadowview. Concerned about safety? It blared in bold red. Below was a grainy photo of me spotting a SWAT trainee on a deadlift, snapped from behind a bush. The text claimed I was hosting paramilitary drills with known law enforcement agents, turning our home into a high-risk site for domestic instability. I wasn't mad about the dangerous label, I was mad she used Comic Sans. But the damage was real. Our annual block barbecue got postponed. The kids' bike parade we'd organized for years was quietly reassigned to another street. Patricia had orchestrated a social siege, painting me as a threat to Meadowview's manicured peace. Laura scrolled through a neighborhood Facebook group, her face tight. "These moms are calling you a militia leader, Tom. We can't keep playing nice." I nodded. Shouting the truth wouldn't work. Patricia was thriving on fear and vibes. I needed something bigger, something undeniable, to flip the narrative. If she wanted to call me dangerous, I'd show the neighborhood just how safe I was. That's when I hatched the plan for Community Strength Day, a public event to showcase fitness, safety, and unity. I filed city permits, called in a favor with a SWAT buddy whose sister worked at Channel 5 News, and even convinced the police chief to bring the department's new canine pup, a floppy-eared recruit named Ranger. Flyers went out professional, colorful, with the tagline, "Safety starts with understanding." Patricia tried to sabotage it, posting fake flyers and Comic Sans proclaiming Militia Day. But the RSVPs poured in. On the big day, our driveway transformed into a festival of goodwill. There were CPR demos, self-defense classes, a mental health booth, and a station where kids could try on SWAT vests under supervision. I wore a simple trainer's polo, not tactical gear, and the whole event streamed live on Facebook. Parents snapped selfies with officers. Kids collected free stickers. Neighbors who'd ghosted us showed up with cupcakes and shy smiles. Even Mr. Thompson waved. Then Patricia arrived, her sun hat wide as a satellite dish, clutching a clipboard like a shield. She marched up to Chief Daniels, who was high-fiving kids, and demanded the event be shut down for misuse of municipal resources. The chief turned, deadpan. "Patricia, you called us last week about urban insurgents in tactical gear. Those were my officers. This event's approved." She pointed at a whistle from the kids' obstacle course. "This violates HOA serenity." I chimed in, "That's the referee, Patricia." Officer Martinez, a regular at my gym, grinned. Tom's demilitarized misinformation pretty well here. A few neighbors clapped. Patricia's face reddened as she spotted the Channel 5 camera. You can't film May didn't sign a release. The reporter shrugged. Public event, ma'am. Then came the twist. I'd invited every neighbor Patricia claimed had filed complaints. None showed. Ellen, the chalk art mom, took the mic. I never signed any complaint. Patricia said it was for a garden club. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Patricia froze, her clipboard trembling. I stepped up. Given this, I proposed Transparency Tuesdays weekly, recorded HOA Q&As open to everyone. A child handed Patricia her dropped clipboard. You dropped this, ma'am. Her jaw clenched so tight I thought she'd crack a molar. This isn't over, she growled, storming off as Ranger barked cheerfully. That night, Channel 5 aired a glowing report. Smiling kids, proud officers, and a 5-second clip of Patricia ranting about a charity raffle. She went viral for all the wrong reasons. Memes flooded next door, my favorite showing her glaring at Ranger with the caption, "Calls puppy a threat. Puppy's name is Ranger." For a few days, peace settled over Meadowview. Patricia's dog stopped marking our shrubs. Her morning struts ceased. But I knew she wasn't done. She'd retreated to regroup, and her next move would aim hire me career. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon, not from my SWAT contacts, but from the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, where I teach advanced modules. Tom, you've been flagged, the director said. An anonymous complaint claims you're running unauthorized tactical operations in a civilian neighborhood. My stomach sank. That kind of accusation could tank my security clearance and contracts. The file arrived, a binder of screenshots, including a blurry shot of me doing a Turkish get-up labeled Civilian Combat Maneuver. There were fake HOA citations, a forged complaint signed by a neighbor with his name misspelled, and a map circling my trash cans in red. I knew Patricia's handiwork. My lawyer, Mike, chuckled grimly. She's playing with fire, Tom. This could be a federal offense. Impersonating a whistleblower with fabricated evidence wasn't just shady, it was criminal. I didn't confront her. Instead, I filed a public records request for HOA communications. What I found was gold. Patricia had been emailing city officials as Margaret Liberty, a concerned grandmother. She'd filed noise complaints, code violations, and even a fire hazard report. But Margaret also signed an HOA grant petition in Patricia's unmistakable handwriting. A neighbor, furious that Patricia forged his name in the federal complaint, offered to testify. We compiled everything and sent it to my department, which forwarded it to federal legal. Patricia, strutting around Meadowview like its queen, was now a potential fraud suspect. One morning, I caught her chatting with a local reporter outside my house, claiming I'd been relieved of duty for weapons hoarding. I stepped out, casual as ever. Funny thing about federal investigations, Patricia. Sometimes they turn on you. Her mascara cracked under the strain. What are you talking about? She stammered. You'll see, I said, waving to the reporter before heading inside. 2 days later, she got a federal subpoena via certified mail. I watched from my porch as her hand shook, signing for it. She tried to end my career. Instead, she'd built her gallows. The subpoena hit Patricia like a thunderbolt, shattering her polished facade. Gone were her confident struts through Meadowview, her designer robes, and her dog's smug yard invasions. She holed up in her house, emerging only to snatch thick envelopes from her porch legal documents, no doubt. But silence from Patricia didn't mean surrender. I knew she was scheming, and the first clue came when the Meadowview HOA website vanished overnight. A vague notice read, "Undergoing security upgrades." I wasn't fooled. As a trainer with some digital forensics experience, I recognized the signs of a cover-up. Patricia wasn't upgrading, she was torching evidence. What she didn't know was that the internet never forgets, and neither do people. Late one evening, my phone pinged with an encrypted email. The subject, "You don't know me, but I know what Patricia did." I hesitated, suspecting spam, but the details inside were too specific. Unpublished HOA meeting minutes, draft documents Patricia had buried, and screenshots of internal threads where she coached board members to file fake complaints under aliases. The sender signed off as Yard Sentry, an HOA board member fed up with her games. "She forged my name twice," they wrote. "I saved everything. Want it?" I replied instantly, "Absolutely." Within an hour, a file dump arrived, detailed enough to fuel a true crime podcast. Patricia hadn't just faked complaints. She'd rigged HOA votes, deleted legitimate petitions, and siphoned grant funds meant for community projects into administrative reimbursements that conveniently covered her new patio hot tub. The receipts were damning. PDFs, screenshots, even a draft invoice for a therapeutic water feature signed by her alias, Margaret Liberty. But the knockout punch was a videophilia forgotten Zoom recording of an HOA meeting where Patricia laid out her plan. "We need to keep the narrative tight," she said. "Tom's gym makes people nervous. If we frame it as a malicious setup, we'll shut it down by summer." Game over. I called my lawyer, Mike, and within 24 hours, the evidence was with federal investigators. The HOA board started to crack. A second anonymous email arrived, this time from Green Thumb, who turned out to be a former board assistant. "Patricia made me stuff mailboxes with fake complaint letters," they wrote. "I quit when she had me steam open neighbor ballots." Steam open ballots? Patricia wasn't running an HOA, she was running a suburban syndicate. The federal inquiry escalated from preliminary to active. Patricia's emails were subpoenaed, and her phone was seized. The neighborhood, once cowed by her fear-mongering, turned furious. A meme went viral in the Meadowview Facebook group. Patricia's face on a Soviet general's body, captioned, "Comrade Hensley decrees your roses violate Directive 47. Even her allies mocked her. I stayed calm, forwarding evidence quietly, legally. Patricia thought she could erase her tracks, but Yard Sentry, Green Thumb, and the internet had other plans. The HOA board couldn't contain the fallout. At the next public meeting live-streamed per Transparency Tuesdays, Patricia was conspicuously absent, citing a personal wellness retreat. But the board had a bombshell. Marjorie, the flowerbed enforcer, opened by slamming a folder on the table. "We dug into Patricia's records," she said. For 20 minutes, she and two others unraveled what they called the Hensley Trail. It started with odd charges: a massage chair, LED ring lights, a sauna kit. "We thought she was stress shopping," Marjorie said. Then it got weird. Deliveries went to an industrial P.O. box and a storage unit 10 miles away, registered to P.H. Hensley, with her dog, Baxter, listed as the emergency contact. The board got a court order and opened the unit. Inside, a wrapped massage chair, cases of wine labeled for HOA events, stacks of pre-signed blank fine forms, a box of 15 Amazon security cameras, and a folder labeled Community Optics. Inside were draft complaint letters, op-eds for local papers, and a PowerPoint titled Operation Perception, Neutralizing the Gym Threat. Slide 6 reads, "Fear is a tool. Let's use it." A kid in the audience whispered, "She's like a Bond villain with a clipboard." Marjorie dropped the final blow. A shredded HOA credit card Patricia had buried in her backyard, caught on a neighbor's security cam as she dug at midnight in leopard pajamas, muttering to Baxter. But the real kicker was an old laptop in the storage unit, still logged into Patricia's email. It revealed messages to a consultant she'd hired off Craigslist, a 19-year-old named PixelPulse42. His advice? Add creepy sound effects to your HOA videos. Patricia had paid him $200 a month with HOA funds to edit propaganda clips, including one with a slow zoom on me lifting a sandbag, set to heartbeat audio and red filters, titled The Shadow of Chaos, a neighborhood at risk. The room gasped. The HOA treasurer, a usually reserved accountant, lost it. "She used our money to hire a teenager to make scary videos," he shouted. "I'm pressing charges." The board voted unanimously to expel Patricia, not suspend, expel. A full audit was launched, and they filed to make her repay every misspent dollar, including the unplugged massage chair. The livestream's final shot showed her Community Optics box being wheeled past a dumpster labeled Public Records Fulfilled. Comments flooded in. Patricia buried evidence next to her dog's chew toys. PixelPulse42 deserves an Oscar for ethics. I sipped a protein shake, watching the chaos unfold. Patricia had tried to erase the truth, but she'd only amplified it. Still, I knew she'd make one last desperate move, something to claw back control. Her Hail Mary came a week later. A process server caught me mid-squat, handing over a manila envelope. Inside, a civil lawsuit. Patricia was suing me and Laura for defamation, emotional distress, and loss of HOA authority, a phrase so absurd that Mike snorted. Her lawyers claimed my gym had weaponized community perception, triggering mob hysteria and her reputational collapse. She even sued Laura for orchestrating a smear campaign. It was so over the top I half expected her to demand a restraining order against my barbells. We countersued for harassment, defamation, and interference with my job. The judge fast-tracked the case, probably out of sheer curiosity. The courtroom was packed local news, neighbors, even Ranger the canine pup in the back with his handler. Patricia swept in like she was auditioning for a legal drama, her lawyer looking like he'd just Googled HOA. He opened with, "My client has been mocked, memed, and emotionally battered by a campaign of lies." I nearly choked on my water. Then came her star witness, Harold, the ruler-toting board member. He took the stand, adjusted his sweater vest, and called Patricia a pillar of order. The judge cut in, "Stick to relevant facts." Harold faltered. "Tom's lies caused her spiritual harm." My lawyer whispered, "This is about to collapse." During cross-examination, we asked, "Harold, did you know about Patricia's alias, Margaret Liberty?" He froze. We showed an email where he replied to Margaret, saying, "Great idea, Patricia." The room buzzed. Next up was Yard Sentry, revealed as Ellen Carter, a former HOA secretary. She brought a binder of forged minutes, altered petitions, and texts from Patricia's HOA elite group chat, where she wrote, "Sue Tom. Win, we kill the gym. Lose, we bury him in fees." Harold cracked under pressure. "She told us to lie," he blurted. "Said the gym was a militia base and threatened our yards if we didn't help." Marjorie shouted, "Knew it," from the gallery. The judge adjourned for 15 minutes and returned with a scorching verdict. "This lawsuit is frivolous and retaliatory," he said. "Mrs. Hensley's credibility is in ruins. Case dismissed. I advise her to seek her counsel." Patricia didn't speak, just walked out, heels clicking like a defeated general. Outside, a teen held a sign, "Justice got jacked." The Channel 5 reporter winked at the camera. Patricia's civil suit had backfired, signing her up for worse, federal charges. Patricia's courtroom defeat didn't just crush her lawsuit, it stripped away the last of her carefully curated image. Meadowview buzzed with gossip, but Patricia went silent. No more passive-aggressive notes, no more dog walks and ostentatious robes, no more HOA power plays. For 9 days, she was a ghost, and that made Laura nervous. "She's not done, Tom," my wife said one night, peering out our kitchen window like we were in a suburban noir film. "She's plotting something big." Laura was right. On the 10th day, the HOA treasurer, a meticulous man named Greg, called an emergency meeting. His voice trembled over the phone. "The Community Emergency Fund $14,382.49 is gone." The fund, meant for snow removal, landscaping, and block parties, had been transferred to a vendor account called B. Hensley Solutions, created just 3 weeks earlier. Baxter, Patricia's bout-wearing dog, had struck again. We filed a police report immediately. The bank flagged the transaction and froze the account, but not before Patricia had withdrawn most of the cash. A tip came from a teller at Meadowview Credit Union. Patricia had shown up that morning in a blonde wig, oversized sunglasses, and a t-shirt reading "Live, Laugh, Litigate." She demanded a cashier's check and stuffed wads of cash into a pet carrier, muttering about an HOA-induced chakra imbalance and a wellness retreat in Sedona. By noon, we had her car's make, model, and license plate. By 3:30 p.m., a bank fraud alert pinged her GPS at a strip mall on the edge of town, outside a shop called Mystic Moon Wellness and Pet Reiki. I'll never forget standing across the street with Officer Martinez, who'd tagged along for moral support, his body cam rolling. Patricia emerged from the shop, clutching Baxter and a lavender crystal shaped like a dollar sign. She was arguing with a clerk about tax-exempt spiritual purchases and didn't notice the 3 police cruisers pulling in. Her face drained of color when she saw them, like someone had canceled her entire existence. "Ma'am," Martinez called, "we need a word." What happened next was pure Meadowview legend. Patricia, in open-toed sandals, bolted across the parking lot, Baxter tucked under her arm like a furry football. "She's fleeing," Martinez said, incredulous. I didn't rummy-weighted vest, still on from a workout, was 45 pounds. I walked over, vest clinking, and looked down. "You okay?" I asked. She groaned, "Blonde wig askew. You ruined everything." I shook my head. "No, Patricia, you ruined it when you tried to bankrupt a neighborhood over a few dumbbells." They cuffed her right there, charging her with fraud, misappropriation of funds, impersonation, and attempted flight. As she sat in the cruiser, a bumper sticker on her shirt, stuck there from the fall, read, HOA proud since '09. Channel 5's evening news led with the headline, ex-HOA leader arrested in botched parking lot escape, dog, crystal, and funds recovered. The wig and pet carrier made it a viral sensation. But Meadowview wasn't done with Patricia. The community, now united by her betrayal, had one final move one she'd never see coming. The night of her arrest, neighbors didn't pop champagne. They dragged lawn chairs to their driveways, clinked seltzer cans, and blasted classic rock from Bluetooth speakers. Ellen fired up a solo stove for Esmores. Kids scrawled "free at last" in chalk across sidewalks. The HOA board, battered but resolute, called a public meeting to rewrite history. At the community center, live-streamed for transparency, we unveiled the Hensley Amendment. Its purpose, to ensure no one like Patricia could ever seize control again. Section A banned unilateral fines without a majority board vote. Section B outlawed impersonating residents in complaints. Section C mandated third-party financial audits. But Section D, dubbed the No Tyrant Rule, was the heart of it. Any HOA member found engaging in manipulative, deceitful, or excessively performative conduct while in a leadership role shall be permanently barred from any future authority in this or any affiliated community. The language was formal, but the message was a gut punch. To cement its legacy, we named it the Hensley Amendment, ensuring Patricia's name would forever be tied to her downfall. The vote was unanimous. Neighbors cheered, some teared up. Marjorie wore a t-shirt reading, "I outlasted the Hensley Empire." A retiree crafted a garden gnome in Patricia's likeness, complete with a tiny clipboard and a scowl, which sold out at the next block party. Justice didn't stop at symbolism. In court, Patricia pleaded not guilty, then tried to pin everything on Harold, who flipped faster than a pancake, handing over incriminating emails for a plea deal. She was convicted on multiple counts: HOA fund fraud, false reporting, impersonation, and misuse of public resources. Her sentence: 18 months probation, 200 hours of community service, and $15,000 in restitution to a new Meadowview Healing Fund. Her first task? Picking up trash in our neighborhood, broadcast live by Channel 5. Half the block set up lawn chairs to watch. Kids bike by, chanting HOA, HOA. Baxter, in a tiny reformed vest, trotted beside her. The real closure came 6 months later. A new family moved in across the street. The Patels, a couple with 3 kids and a bouncy labradoodle. I welcomed them with a plate of Laura's brownies. The dad, Vikram, grinned. "You're the gym guy, right? Heard this street used to be wild." I nodded. "Used to be." His wife, Priya, flipped through our updated HOA welcome packet and laughed. "What's the Hensley Amendment?" I leaned in. "Long story, but it's our insurance against clipboard tyrants." I pointed to the gym, still humming with trainees. Every time someone tries to control this neighborhood, we point to that rule. Patricia, once a self-styled queen, was now a cautionary tale, her legacy reduced to a rake, a vest, and a rule that would outlive her schemes. But Patricia's final reckoning wasn't over. The community had rewritten its future, but she had one last surprisingly desperate bid to rewrite her narrative. And it would backfire in a way no one could have predicted. The morning after her first trash pickup shift, a local blog posted an exclusive interview with Patricia, titled "A Misunderstood Visionary Speaks Out." In it, she claimed she'd been targeted by a vindictive fitness cult, and that her actions were a stand for community purity. She accused me of militarizing Meadowview and Laura of weaponizing paperwork. The blog, run by a friend of her cousin, got a few hundred views before the comments tore it apart. "Purity," one wrote. "You stole $14,000 for a hot tub." Another posted the Channel 5 clip of her parking lot sprint, captioned "Visionary Cardio." The interview was a flop, but it stirred something in Meadowview. At the next Transparency Tuesday, neighbors demanded accountability beyond the courts. Greg, the treasurer, proposed a public archive, every document, email, and video tied to Patricia's schemes, hosted on the HOA website for transparency. "Let's make sure no one forgets," he said. The motion passed, and the Hensley Archive went live, drawing thousands of hits from HOA horror story fans across the country. A national news outlet picked it up, dubbing Patricia the HOA bandit of Meadowview. Patricia's community service hours dragged on, each trash pickup a reminder of her fall. One day, As she swept cigarette butts near my driveway, our eyes met. She looked smaller, her bravado gone. "You happy now?" she muttered. I shrugged. "Happiness isn't the point, Patricia. Fairness is." She turned away, rake scraping the pavement, as a kid biked by with a Hensley Amendment sticker on his helmet. The gym thrived, now hosting free community classes. The Patels signed up, their kids giggling through kettlebell swings. Meadowview wasn't perfect, but it was ours again, fair, open, and stronger for it. Patricia's last gasp had only cemented her defeat, proving that truth, backed by a united community, could deadlift any lie. Patricia Hensley's downfall was complete, but Meadowview wasn't content to let her story fade into a punchline. The neighborhood had been through too much sabotage: trash cans, forged complaints, stolen funds, and a parking lot chase that still sparked laughter at block parties. We'd won, but victory wasn't just about Patricia picking up trash in a neon vest. It was about ensuring no one could ever hijack our community again. The Hensley Amendment was our shield, but Meadowview's true triumph lay in how we rebuilt trust, reclaimed our streets, and turned a saga of conflict into a blueprint for fairness. 6 months after Patricia's conviction, the cul-de-sac felt alive again. Driveways hosted impromptu barbecues, kids raced bikes without fear of HOA citations, and the Wilsons resumed their jam deliveries, this time with blueberry. My garage gym, once Patricia's obsession, became a neighborhood hub. I started free Saturday classes: basic fitness for adults, agility drills for kids. The Patel's labradoodle, Mango, became an unofficial mascot, chasing tennis balls between sets. Even old Mr. Thompson, who hadn't waved in years, stopped by to try a dumbbell curl, grumbling about his creaky joints, but smiling. The HOA, battered by Patricia's reign, reinvented itself. Transparency Tuesdays weren't just a gimmick, they were a lifeline. Every meeting was live-streamed, with residents submitting questions in real time. Greg, the treasurer, posted monthly financial reports online, down to the penny. When a new board member suggested finding someone for an untrimmed hedge, the room cited the Hensley Amendment's no tyrant rule, and the idea died instantly. The Hensley Archive, now a public resource, drew attention beyond Meadowview. HOA reformers from across the state emailed, asking for advice on curbing power-hungry boards. One even called it the Magna Carta of suburban governance. Patricia, meanwhile, slogged through her community service. Her trash pickups, mandated twice weekly, were Meadowview's hottest ticket. Neighbors didn't jerthy watch quietly, sipping coffee from lawn chairs, letting her feel the weight of her choices. Channel 5 covered her first shift, zooming in on Baxter's reformed vest as he trotted beside her. A kid on a scooter tossed her a water bottle, saying, "Stay hydrated, Ms. Hensley." Her scowl could have cracked pavement. The $15,000 restitution she owed went into the Meadowview Healing Fund, which paid for new playground equipment and a community garden. Ellen, now an HOA board member, suggested naming a bench after Baxter, the only innocent Hensley. The motion passed with a laugh. But Patricia's final attempt to rewrite her narrative came a year after her arrest, proving she hadn't learned a thing. A self-published ebook appeared on a shady online bookstore, Under Siege: One Woman's Battle Against a Fitness Conspiracy. In it, Patricia painted herself as a martyr, claiming Meadowview had been radicalized by my paramilitary gym and Laura's manipulative bureaucracy. She described her parking lot sprint as a desperate escape from mob justice and insisted the HOA funds were misallocated due to clerical errors. The book sold 17 copies, mostly to her extended family, before being delisted for violating copyright, quoted HOA emails without permission. The ebook flopped, but it reignited Meadowview's resolve. At a packed Transparency Tuesday, Vikram Patel, the new neighbor, proposed a permanent community event, Meadowview Unity Day, an annual celebration of resilience. "Let's honor what we overcame," he said, "not just laugh at what went wrong." The idea stuck. The first Unity Day, held in our cul-de-sac, drew hundreds. My gym hosted a fitness challenge. Laura ran a voter registration booth, and Chief Daniels brought Ranger, now a full-grown canine, for kids to pet. Channel 5's coverage called it a neighborhood reborn from the ashes of HOA tyranny. A local artist unveiled a mural on the community center wall, a silhouette of Meadowview's houses under a sunrise, with the words "Strength in Unity" in bold. Patricia's probation ended shortly after, but she didn't stay in Meadowview. She sold her house at a loss, moving to a condo complex 40 miles away. Rumor had it she tried joining their HOA but was rejected after someone Googled her name. Her legacy lived on, though, not in plaques or praise, but in the Hensley Amendment, a rule etched into our charter to deter future despots. Every new resident got a welcome packet explaining it, and Priya Patel, flipping through hers, summed it up. So, it's like a don't be a dictator clause? I love this place already. My gym kept growing, now with a waiting list for classes. I trained SWAT officers during the week and neighbors on weekends, blending tactical drills with community spirit. Laura, ever the organizer, launched a Meadowview newsletter, spotlighting resident stories and upcoming events. The Wilson's Jam recipe got a full-page feature. Even Harold, the former Patricia loyalist, made amends, volunteering to mow elderly neighbors' lawns. I was wrong about you, Tom, he admitted one day, handing me a coffee. She had us all fooled. As for me, I found peace in the routine lifting weights, teaching others, and watching Meadowview thrive. The federal complaint that nearly cost me my job was dismissed, and my contracts were renewed with a raise. Mike, my lawyer, joked that I should write a book, How to Survive an HOA Apocalypse. I laughed, but passed. The real story wasn't mine. Allenite belonged to every neighbor who'd stood up, from Ellen's mic drop moment to Greg's financial sleuthing to the kids who chalked, free at last, on our streets. One evening, as I locked up the gym, Vikram jogged over. Tom, you ever think she'll try again? I glanced at the community garden, where a Meadowview Healing Fund plaque gleamed under a streetlight. Let her try, I said. We've got the amendment, the archive, and each other. She'd be out of moves before she started. He nodded, and we stood there, the cul-de-sac quiet except for the hum of crickets and a distant kid's laughter. Meadowview wasn't perfect. We still argued over fence heights and holiday decorations. But we argued openly, fairly, with no one wielding a clipboard like a scepter. Patricia had come for control and left with a rake, her name forever tied to a rule that mocked her ambition. Justice wasn't just Soviet, it was squatted, deadlifted, and hung from a pull-up bar for all to see. And every time a new family moved in, asking about the Hensley Amendment, we'd smile and say, pull up a lawn chair. It's a hell of a story. Thank you for reading the saga of Meadowview's battle against HOA tyranny. This story is about more than a garage gym. It's about power, justice, and the strength of a community that refused to be bullied. What do you think about Patricia's actions? Was her pursuit of control a product of personal vendetta, or does it reflect deeper issues of power abuse in our neighborhoods? How would you handle a situation where someone used lies and fear to turn others against you? And what about the role of violence, whether physical, like the implied threats and Patricia's accusations, or social, like her campaign to isolate Tom and Laura? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Take a stand, share your perspective, or tell us about your own experiences with injustice in your community. Your voice matters, and we'd love to hear it. Let's keep the conversation going.